now to our State of Education series. For the past 2 weeks, our team of investigative reporters have been exploring the issues surrounding what's being called an education crisis in Oklahoma.
Fox 25's Phil Cross concludes this series of reports with a look at what happens when a school just can't survive. Phil.
Guys, at statehood, there were more than 1,000 school districts scattered across the state. Today, that number is a little more than 500, and it could shrink more as more schools find it difficult to make ends meet. But is combining districts good or bad? Well, it all depends on who you ask.
It was lively. I couldn't wait to Saturday evenings when everybody would be over town.
Boley, Oklahoma hasn't been lively in some time. Downtown shows the results of decades of disrepair. Buildings that themselves saw history made are at risk of fading into history. And while there are any number of reasons one could point to for the current conditions, one of the biggest hits came just a few years ago.
It hurt.
Mayor Frances Shelton went to Boley Public Schools starting in the 4th grade.
It was fun. I enjoyed my grade school days as well as my high school days.
But the school just couldn't keep up. In 2007, the district voted to close the high school. By 2010, the elementary was unable to go on.
It was kind of a blow to the community. It had an effect on our economy.
There was no mandate, no order to dissolve. The decision to close and consolidate the district with neighboring schools was a local one, but that didn't make it any easier.
When you lose your school, you lose your basis for being almost.
With more than 500 school districts in the state, the question has been raised if more schools consolidated, could the money saved give a much-needed boost to education funding?
You can save a little bit of money from that, and honestly, it's something that's happening. The school districts have pretty steadily gone down over the past decade or two.
Gene Perry with the Oklahoma Policy Institute doesn't believe consolidation is the solution to the state's education woes.
The biggest issue is we're really not investing at a level that we need to support those people. Oklahoma has had, since 2008, since the recession really kicked in, the largest per pupil cuts in the country to education.
Nobody, to my knowledge, has ever defined what underfunding is.
Byron Schlomock of the newly formed public policy research group 1889 Institute says there is no definition of what fully funded education is.
It's quite possible, with the level of funding we have now, to get a quality education.
The 1889 Institute sees school choice as the answer to fixing education. But would school choice give teachers a raise or increase classroom spending?
If you look at charter schools in general, they are much less top-heavy.
The Oklahoma Policy Institute says consolidating schools or even consolidating administration costs would not increase Oklahoma's education spending rank.
There's not an easy fix to this that doesn't involve finding more money.
But money alone won't necessarily fix failing schools, which is why letting parents choose schools is appealing to many.
Public education is just ripe for disruption, and probably the best way to disrupt it, the best way to fundamentally change things, to make it more efficient, is through school choice.
We need to support all kids, and we need to support the school districts who are responsible for the kids who get left behind.
But if a school can't afford teachers, technology, or the turnover they're seeing now, the choice may be made for parents.
What we've really done is lost our children, and that's what keeps the town alive.
Because as Boley knows all too well, coming back is much harder than getting knocked down.
We always have hope, and keeping hope alive keeps us trying to do the things we need to do to attract people back to this community.
In Boley, they're working to remodel that old school building to turn it into a group foster home, which will teach kids life skills. But those children will have to be bused to the neighboring Okemah School District for school. Phil Cross, Fox 25 News.